I'm getting ready for the game here at Carter Finley Stadium, waiting for the Wolfpack. I'm a bit early, but that's because I want to talk to you about tailgating and football foods, all things from your favorite venue, or maybe just on your couch with your widescreen. But if you decide to head out to your favorite venue to actually see your favorite team, I've got some good ideas for you. I'm Chef Todd Moore. My mission is empowering people to cook without recipes. They experience the freedom to cook what they want, how they want it, the confidence to take control and try new things, the health benefits of fresh, wholesome foods, and the family-strengthening bonds of dinner time together, as well as the money they save by eating well. Live without rules, cook without recipes. It's a no-recipe lifestyle. The first is, when I go out to tailgate, I bring 2 coolers with me. One is a cold cooler. It contains all the cold ingredients that I may use to actually cook something, and I'm going to tell you about that tomorrow. It also holds a few of those that we'll talk about also. But more importantly, I bring a hot cooler. Hot cooler, you say? How does that work? Well, what if I want to bring items that I've made previously? Keeping them warm is really difficult, and this is my probably number one caterer's trick. I teach other caterers this and they're amazed by it. But if you want to keep something warm, that you can't put a flame, right? An open flame in your cooler to heat things up. So I've got a towel down on top, and this just acts as insulation to keep the heat in. And here's my pot of chili that I've made previously, so this will stay nice and warm in the cooler. But what's my source of heat? And here's the number one trick. It's bricks. Take some bricks, put a basic brick in your oven, heat it up as hot as it'll go. That brick will hold on to a lot of heat for a good amount of time. 2 bricks wrapped in cloths in the bottom of your cooler, and then whatever items, preferably in a metal container that you're going to bring with you that are made ahead of time, and the towel down on top for insulation, and there's my hot cooler. So I have the ability to bring things that I've made previously and serve them there. I don't have to cook. Let's go back to the stainless steel kitchen. I'll show you some ideas for bringing chili to the big game. So we're going to make chili today, and this is again up to your interpretation. I'll show you the way that I do it. It's not a chili recipe, it's ideas for you to do your own chili. Although it's a soup pot, it's a saute procedure, which starts with making sure the pan is hot. A little bit of water on my hands, evaporates immediately, pan hot, some kind of fat. A little bit of fat to just barely coat the bottom of the pan to be a liaison for our heat. Pick the pan up, swish it all around, cover the entire bottom of the pan, heat this until just before it begins to smoke. That you can tell when it goes from being perfectly smooth to being striated, starting to see those waves. That's an icicle, by the way, that hit my hand. Not a knife, but an icicle, believe it or not. So, anyway, I see that my oil is starting to convect, and now it's time for my protein product. You can certainly use ground beef. What I've got here is some filet mignon. Now we're making filet mignon beef tenderloin chili. I mean, if that's not a step above everything else, but you could use ground beef, you can use chicken, you can use ground turkey, we can even do a vegetarian chili and skip this all together. But in my pan here, just like a saute method, what I'm doing is rendering fat. I'm finding the fat on the bottom of the pan, rendering from this beef, and after I see it start to coagulate, stiffen and shrink, and I'll start to see the blood coming up out of some of the pieces of beef. This is a point again. This is the potential evaporation of the moisture in beef. I know that that is just about cooked through, but you know what? Chili is going to cook for a long time, so I'm not as concerned about it. But what I do have here are some chopped onions. I'll go ahead and add the chopped onions to our beef and continue cooking that in that respect. My beef that I've cubed up coarsely and my onions sauteing in here. What we're going to do is go ahead and add some brown sugar. I like this a little sweeter as well. So, I don't know, 2 tablespoons of brown sugar will go in there, mixed in. What else has a nice beef flavor to it that I might be able to pump up the beef flavor a little bit? How about some Worcestershire sauce? And again, big containers here in a commercial kitchen. 2 tablespoons, and I call everything 2 tablespoons? Okay, 2 tablespoons of Worcestershire sauce will go in there as well. Start to saute that until a lot of that sauce is dry, till it's almost dry. When most of that moisture has evaporated, now comes the fun part. I like to use some whiskey or bourbon just to give it a little bit of a smoky flavor. Hey, guess how much that was? About 2 tablespoons. We'll add that and continue to saute until that's almost dry. And when all my jack is gone, it's time to cool down that pan a little bit, stop some of the cooking. Notice on the side of the pan where I've got some burnt on items. On the bottom of the pan, I've got some fond still there. So some beef broth. Since I'm making a beef chili, we're going to add, I don't know, a cup or so of beef broth. And what have we done now? Now we've begun a moist cooking method where this beef is going to poach in the beef flavored liquid, making it much more tender. Some of the things that we can go ahead and add to that, some tomato paste will give it a nice tart kind of flavor, plus the acid in the tomato paste will help tenderize that beef somewhat. And it's time for some seasonings as well. What do I like in my chili? Well, I don't like to over season it. I don't like to make it too hot. I've got a little thyme, T-H-Y-M-E, not on a clock time. One of the few times, now it's on a clock time, times that you'll see me use black pepper. I prefer white, but in the chili it's okay, it's going to get hidden. And a little bit of salt as well we'll add, and we'll check those seasonings in just a few minutes. When I see all that come together and some of the moisture start to evaporate, now it's time for some beans, canned beans that I've strained. You can make them pinto beans, you can make them black beans, you can make them red beans, you can make any kind of beans you want. I'm going to put pinto beans in here. And lastly, if you like tomatoes, well, it might be time for some canned diced tomatoes, or you can make tomato concasse if you'd like we've shown you in episodes before. And I'll put half a can of diced tomatoes in there. Mix that up, and here's my chili. Now when my chili gets to about this consistency, still there's some liquid in there to mop up with some bread or cornbread or something if you'd like, but not quite as soupy as it was before. Now's the time I'm going to go ahead and put a lid on that pan and let that continue to steam in its own liquid. You can't really screw this up, you know? It's a moist cooking process and a recipe that you can invent for sure. Use ground beef, use ground turkey. A vegetarian chili is going to be exactly the same procedure, but you might start with your onions and beans after that and build one flavor on top of the other with carrots. I've got some shredded Monterey Jack and cheddar cheese here, and here is my filet mignon beef tenderloin chili. Doesn't get much better than that. You know how I feel about grilling. Grilling is a very difficult thing to do, at least to control that heat very well. Make it really more difficult by doing it on a tiny little hibachi thing in a parking lot. I generally prefer to bring my saute pan. And tomorrow tune in because we're going to make some shrimp scampi right here in the parking lot before the game. And I'll show you how to work a saute burner for your tailgate. Much better than a hibachi grill or messing with coals or anything like that. So go pack go, and we'll see you tomorrow.